Hello everybody, and welcome to my first ever War of the Spark draft here on the channel. Before we dive in, I do want to remind you that if you enjoy this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. If this video gets to 50 thumbs up, I will do an in-depth draft analysis after the fact in written form and post that to my community tab. So if you want to have access to that, be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can see all the things I post in the community tab. Also, I would encourage you that if you have any questions, be sure to leave those in the comments section down below. And also, if you want to see me do any Magic the Gathering online drafts for this set, also leave that in the comments section down below so I can kind of gauge how much support there is for that type of draft. But yeah, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, comment, and let's dive into the draft. I am going to be making sure I hover over the cards a lot because I want to make sure that everyone can see the cards and know what they do. Okay, so first up, our first rare, Massacre Girl, is a very powerful rare. 3 black. It's a 4/4 menace, which is a good sized body with menace is actually relevant on that type of body. And then its enters battlefield effect is very powerful. When it enters, each other creature gets -1/-1, and then if a creature dies, you just repeat that process. So everything except Massacre Girl could potentially die. You can really set this up very effectively. So Massacre Girl is going to be the pick out of this pack, but I do want to take the time to talk about the other cards in the pack so that you know what to do in your packs. Sunblade Angel, as an uncommon, is a strong card. It has a lot of very powerful abilities, and these abilities are further enhanced when you put a counter onto Sunblade Angel and when you proliferate onto Sunblade Angel. Oh, thank goodness. I want to make sure I was recording. I had a brief moment of terror. And when you are proliferating on it. So if you can put a counter on a Sunblade Angel and then somehow make it into a 4/4 or 5/5, it wears those counters incredibly well relative to most creatures because abilities like First Strike and Lifelink and are really nice with extra power and toughness, and then Vigilance also really emphasizes that. So Sunblade Angel is a strong card and is a card that makes you want to build some proliferate effects around it, but definitely not better than Massacre Girl. Teo the Shield Mage is interesting. It really helps you stall the game and protect your other Planeswalkers, so it's not a card that I want to take early, at least at this point, but I think it is a card that if you have a couple other Planeswalkers and your opponent's creatures look kind of small, you can maybe side it in, or you can maybe main deck it if you want to really just be defensive. And then there are some decks that might be running like Huatli, where your creatures will be dealing damage with their toughness, and that could be an effective way to use that as well. Eternal Skylord, giving your zombie token flying is a really nice way to finish the game. On its own, a 5-mana 3/3 that amasses 2 is not like the biggest body, so it does put you a little bit behind on board, but I think giving your army token flying is very relevant. Defiant Strike is a card that you can run, but it's very marginal. Top of the Statue, similar thing. It's a very nice sideboard card if your opponent does have an artifact that's worth killing. Ashiok Skulker I think is going to be nice because killing Planeswalkers is good, so being able to get evasion is nice. Kasmi's Transmutation, I have it as a very good blue common, just because you are able to essentially remove a creature. That being said, it doesn't get rid of +1/+1 counters, so that's something to keep in mind for sure. No Escape is not going to be a card that I start out main decking in draft. In Sealed, it's pretty nice because that's a slower format, but in draft, it's generally faster, so you don't really want to be playing 3-mana counter spells. Kaya's Ghost Form is a card that I have to play to figure out. I've been struggling with this one for a long time, but I think the card is could be very good or it could be just very bad. Probably going to be only one or the other, not like a medium card. Spark Harvest is probably my second pick out of this pack. It's just another removal spell. It's not quite as good as Massacre Girl. I think it might be a little bit better than Sunblade Angel just because killing Planeswalkers is so important. But this one, it has a lot of flexibility and it's just a very powerful effect. Unlikely Aid is a combat trick that I like quite a bit, but definitely not more powerful than the removal spells. Spellgorger Weird is a card that I think is worth building around in this set. There's a lot of good non-creature spells, and Spellgorger Weird can get quite big, especially if you're proliferating in addition to your non-creature spells. And then finally, New Horizons is a nice proliferate starter up. You can get a counter onto a creature, and then it also ramps you and color fixes, so a nice card as well. I'm not going to go through every card for every pack, but I figured I'd go through just my first pack and talk through my thoughts. Massacre Girl is my number 1 pick out of this pack, then Spark Harvest, and then I think I go Sunblade Angel, Spellgorger Weird, and then probably it's close between the Eternal Skylord and the New Horizons, but that's my pick order for this pack. Definitely taking the Massacre Girl, though. One thing I do want to keep in mind is that I want to be more flexible in this draft. I don't want to just commit super early because there are a lot of powerful cards that can be getting later. But yeah, Oath of Kai is a very strong effect. Enters the battlefield to deal 3-mana, deal 3, gain 3 is a very powerful effect. That being said, it is a gold card, so it does pinhole me in a little bit. Compared to a card like Divine Arrow, which is 2 mana to deal 4 to an attacking or blocking creature, I'm not sure Oath of Kaya is worth the cost of going into a second color, of committing to a gold card for, especially because the Planeswalker text on this one is not as relevant as it normally would be. It is a little bit relevant because there are some there's a lot of Planeswalkers in this set, but I don't think Oath of Kaya is that much better than Divine Arrow that I want to take it over a removal spell that deals 4 for 2 mana. And while you might be saying, but you already have a Massacre Girl, you want to be playing black-white anyway, I could still definitely easily move off of the Massacre Girl, and taking just monocolored cards is a little bit better here. Rally the Wings, I think, is unplayable. I don't think you're ever going to get enough flyers to make this worth it in limited, so just try to steer clear of this card. But keep it in mind because some people might play it, and you don't want to get wrecked by it. Ashiok Dreamrender is pretty much, I think, unplayable in limited. You can side it in for control mirrors, maybe, if your opponent doesn't look like they have any pressure at all, and then you can just mill them for 20 cards and win that way. But overall, I don't think Ashiok's really going to be a playable card, maybe a sideboard card at best. Bulwark Giant, I think, is like playable if you have a little bit of life gain synergy in your control deck that looks like they're going to fall behind early. But overall, I think it's like not a very solid card that you're going to want to be playing very often, because 6 mana for 3/6 is just not good enough. Tammy's Epiphany, a very strong card draw option. Scrying 4 is like pretty much like drawing a card, because you can pretty much find exactly what you need for the situation. And if you have a bomb card or a card like Massacre Girl in your deck, Tammy's Epiphany gets much better, because like you can find your very strong cards. Thunderdrake is a card I'm very high on. I think you're often going to be able to trigger it. And a 4 mana 2/3 flyer is not awful on its own, so it just gets better as the game goes on, which is very good. Then the Ghost form again, which I already talked about. Toll of the Invasion, I think, is like only really playable and sealed. 3 mana to just make them discard 1 card that you choose is not very good, because a lot of the cards in limited are just very fine in power level. They're not like insane or anything, so you're not getting extra value out of that. So I don't think this card's very good in draft. In sealed, it gets a little bit better because there's more bombers running around. Vampire Opportunist is just like a very mediocre card. Not a card I'm super happy to play, because 7 mana to activate it is a bit too expensive. I think Arboreal Grazer is unplayable. Same with Sarkhan's Catharsis. And Goblin Assault Team is very marginally playable, maybe if you need a Proliferate Enabler and you're very aggressive. But overall, I'm not super pumped to play this card. Okay, so here we're just going to take the Divine Arrow. I already talked about why I preferred over Oath of Kaya. That being said, I still would take Oath of Kaya second. And then I think I would take Thunderdrake, followed by Tamiyo's Epiphany out of this pack. Okie doke, so let's see what we have here. The cards that immediately jump out to me are the white cards in this pack. Gideon's Triumph, making an opponent sacrifice an attacker or creature that attacked or blocked this turn, is quite nice. It's kind of like a Divine Arrow if you're using it on offense, and they're only blocking with 1 creature. And sometimes if they can only attack with their biggest creature, you can just eat that creature. It's a little bit different than Divine Arrow. It can kill sometimes bigger things, but sometimes it kills smaller things if there's like a big combat, so definitely an interesting one to evaluate. Trusted Pegasus is a very good card. Pegasus, Courser, and Rock Charger were both very solid, and those were like 3 mana 1/3s with the same effect. And I think Trusted Pegasus is going to be no different. One of the top white commons for sure. Dreadhorde Twins, nothing insane, but giving your army token Trample is quite relevant if you have a lot of amass. So definitely a type of card to keep in mind. Teo's Light Shield, I think I undervalued it when I first looked at it. I think putting counters onto your creatures is going to be very relevant because there's a lot of Proliferate running around. So I think you are going to be wanting to play Teo's Light Shield in a lot of your white decks. But that being said, I think I definitely prefer Trusted Pegasus or Gideon's Triumph over it. I already talked about Tamiyo's Epiphany a little bit. Definitely a good card, but we're probably going to stick with one of the white cards here just so we can be more flexible later on. Naga Eternal, not really particularly playable. Nahiri Stoneblades is a card that I'm excited to play with at some point, but keep in mind that because it doesn't buff toughness, the creatures are oftentimes going to trade anyway. So it's a card that I want to try out, but I'm not sure if it's actually very good. Charity Extractor. Wow, I just realized that its name is Charity Extractor. That's hilarious. Not a very good card. 4 mana 1/5 is just not a big body, and a lifelink on a 1-powered creature is not very effective. Vivian's Grizzly is a card that I do like, though. It's not insane or anything, because if the top card isn't a creature, like, you don't get any value, but it's still a very good common, a very solid 3-drop, and a card that I'll always play in my green decks. And then there's just some Gateway Plaza for some mana fixing. But we don't really need that. So we're definitely picking between the Gideon's Triumph and the Trusted Pegasus, and I think I'm going to go with the it's actually a close pick between the two, because Trusted Pegasus would be better for a more aggressive type build, Gideon's Triumph for a more defensive type build. I think because, well, I currently have I have 1 removal spell already and a Massacre Girl, which can kill some stuff as well. It is actually a really close pick. That being said, I think I'm going to go with the removal spell. I think I'll be able to get creatures more easily later on, and Gideon's Triumph is a very flexible removal spell, like a very powerful removal spell. Okie doke. Here we get to talk about one of the best uncommons in the set, in my opinion, Kasmina, Enigmatic Mentor. Its passive ability is very good. It makes it hard for your opponent to target your spells, and then its minus ability creates a creature that loots. So already a 4 mana 2/2 that looted and made it harder for you to, and then there's like a passive ability in play that makes it harder to target your creatures, would be already like maybe a fine card, maybe not the greatest, but still fine. And the fact that you get to do that twice is very good. So I think Kasmina is one of the better uncommons in the set. That being said, it is competing with Wanderer's Strike, which is one of the better commons in white. I have it as like best common, competing with like Divine Arrow, and I already have 2 white cards. So at this point, Wanderer's Strike is very likely to make my deck, whereas Kasmina Enigmatic Mentor could definitely still get the axe. I could play like a black-white deck instead, whereas Wanderer's Strike is almost always making my deck. That being said, Kasmina is a very strong card, so it is a little bit tricky to pass up on that. Heartwarming Redemption is not a card I think is very playable. In Limited, you don't want to be playing 4-mana cards that don't do anything to affect the board. All this does is maybe gain you 3 life and get rid of 3 cards, and usually you're not going to be discarding like 3 irrelevant cards. So yeah, it's just not a very good card in Limited. Makeshift Battalion, definitely not a card I'm going to take over Wanderer's Strike anytime soon. It's just a 3-mana 3/2 with a marginal upside, so like, kind of like, it's an alright card. Ashiok Skulker I already talked about. Thunderdrake, definitely worse than Kasmina. All the blue cards are going to be worse than Kasmina in this pack, though. Duskmantle Operative I think is a fine 2-drop, but definitely nothing insane. But the fact that it's got a little bit of evasion is really nice in a world where you want to kill Planeswalkers. Arlen's Wolf is a similar vein to the Duskmantle Operative. It's nice to have a little bit of evasion, but that being said, it still gets blanked by a lot of creatures. It's a 3-mana 3/2 at its heart, so it's not an insane card. On-Crop Invader, it's similar. It's creatures that are kind of hard to block. The threat of activation is very real here, but you do need to have creatures that you're able to sacrifice, so keep that in mind. You can also use this ability multiple times in one turn, so you can like really threaten them, so they might have to enter chump block mode a little bit earlier than they might want to. Spark Reaper, a nice way to use some like get some value out of your creatures or planeswalkers if they're just sitting there on low loyalty, or you have a small creature in the late game. But definitely not going to take that over a Kasmina or a Wanderer's Strike. And then Vivian's Grizzly, I already discussed, a very nice card, but worse than Kasmina if I was going to branch into a different color. So essentially in this pack, I'm choosing between Kasmina and Wanderer's Strike. I think I want to be playing my white cards here. I think Wanderer's Strike is a good enough white card that it's probably worth taking over the Kasmina. Kasmina is very good, but it does bring me into another color. I would ideally be playing with my Massacre Girl if I could. There are a couple of black cards in this pack that might indicate that black could potentially be open later on. Also a green card that maybe green's open, so I don't really have enough signal to know that I'll be able to play Kasmina a high enough percentage of the time that I'll take it over a Wanderer's Strike. So that was just my logic for that one. Okie doke. So this pack, God Pharaoh Statue, not really a playable card in my opinion. 6 mana to make your opponent's spells harder to cast is not worth it, and then them losing 1 life each turn is definitely not like worth it. So this is more of like a just kind of a fun commander card potentially, I think, because you're never really going to want to cast this in Limited. Ugin's Conjurant, however, is very interesting. If you can make this as a 5/5, say, the damage that would be dealt to it is negated. So you attack your 5/5 in, and say they double block it. You kill their creatures, and then the damage dealt to Ugin's Conjurant just shrinks it. So I think Ugin's Conjurant, I think that's how it works at least. I'm not 100% certain, but it still does the damage with the counters on it because the damage is dealt simultaneously. So say you attack with your Ugin's Conjurant, and they double block it with a 3/2, a 3/3, and with 2 3/3s, say. You eat one of their 3/3s, and then I think it takes 2 sources of damage, so it would become a 3/3, but you still get a decent amount of value from Ugin's Conjurant, and it's guaranteed to make your deck because it's colorless. I don't really want to move into another color necessarily, especially not for a card like Ashiok Skulker. Wall of Runes is the type of card that gets much better if you have ways to sacrifice it in the later parts of the game, like the card that gets +2/+0 in first strike, or the 3-mana card that, or the 3-mana black card that can pay 3 to sacrifice cards and draw cards. Those are the type of cards. Those were the ones in the last pack. Wall of Runes is definitely playable if you have a couple of those in your deck, but other than that, I'm not really a card I'm happy to main deck. Already talked about Totally Invasion as not being very good. Chain Whip Cyclops has a little bit of potential because you might want to give your stuff unblockable to kill Planeswalkers, but I don't think Planeswalkers are going to be an overwhelming part of Limited, like every game, like have to kill. So I think Chain Whip Cyclops is like not really insane. I think it's not a very good card. I already talked about the Wolf. Wolf is fine. Ward Scale Crocodile is the type of card that gets really nice if you have some proliferate themes and can get some counters onto it, but overall a 5-mana 5/3 is just not a very good body. So you do have to put some work in to make it good. And then Prismite, it's a okay 2-drop if you're playing a deck that needs colors. The color fixing is not super efficient, and I'm not really looking to color fix right now, so it's not a card I'm interested in right now, but it's a card you could be interested in at some point. I'm going to take the Ugin's Conjurant, though. Definitely want to try that out, and I think it's going to be pretty good in my deck. It's also a very flexible pick. Okie doke. So here we are seeing some signs of blue being open potentially. There's 2 blue uncommons. There's a Kiora's Dambreaker, and all of these cards are pretty solid. There's also a Teo. I don't think I want to take the Teo at this point. It's not a card I'm super excited to be playing with. As I said, I think you want to be having other planeswalkers you want to protect in order to play Teo. So I think I am at this point going to take one of the blue cards. Davriel's Shadow Fugue is just not efficient enough for limited. Making a player discard 2 cards for 4 mana is just not good enough. Grim Initiate is a card that I think is going to be an okay card because starting that Amass Train early is good, and also it works really nicely with Proliferate with both halves. If you put counters onto Grim Initiate, First Strike is a really good ability to have +1/+1 counters on, and then the Amass token can wear counters as well. So it's going to be a nice card to have in Proliferate decks, I think, but my deck is not really looking to go that direction right now. I think I'm seeing more blue than I am seeing red, so I think I'm going to take one of these blue cards. Steady Aim as a combat trick is not one I'm a super big fan of because it only buffs the power by 1. So a lot of the time you won't be able to trade your like 2-drop for their 4-drop. You'll only be able to like trade your 3-drop for their 4-drop, which is not really super beneficial. Though you can maybe ambush your opponent, especially early on in the format. We already talked about Ward Scale Crocodile. Kiyora's Dambreaker is a card that I think you'll play in a deck that has some Proliferate triggers, and if you need like a big fatty at the top end. But overall, not a super exciting card. Already talked about the Bulwark Giant. Lazotep Plating I think is quite nice. You can use it as a 2-mana counter spell essentially for your opponent's removal spells, or you can use it as a pump spell for your army token. So I think that card's quite nice. And then Augur of Bolas, if you have enough instants and sorceries, you can get a decent amount of value from this. I already have Wanderer's Strike, Gideon's Triumph, and Divine Arrow, which is 3. I think I don't know the exact odds, but if this draws you a card like half the time, it's still a very good card. So I think I am going to take the Augur of Bolas. I don't have any early drops right now, and I think Lazotep Plating is a little bit more situational. So I think I am just going to take the Augur of Bolas here. Okie doke. So as we continue, Battlefield Promotion is a card that I think is quite going to be decent in this format, just because Proliferate's so good. So getting that first counter on the creature is going to be very relevant. So Battlefield Promotion, a good white instant or sorcery, works with the Augur of Bolas if I did end up going that direction. There's also a Teo's Light Shield still in this pack, also puts the counter on the creature, and this deck is looking like it's going to be more defensive, no matter how I end up building it. If I end up playing a blue-white deck or a black-white deck, I don't really have a ton of aggressive creatures right now. So Teo's Light Shield as a defensive body that can also start proliferating, getting Proliferate rolling, it sounds a little bit sounds pretty nice at this point. So I don't think I really want to be taking the Battlefield Promotion over Teo's Light Shield because I'd rather have the defensive option. Ironclad Krovod definitely going to be worse than the Teo's Light Shield, though if your deck is defensive enough and you are a little bit short on playables, you can probably play a Krovod without being too in trouble. I think Saheeli Silverwing is fine. 4 mana 2/3 that gives you a little bit of information about your opponent's hand is going to be a fine playable in most decks. So definitely something that you can play without being too afraid of it. But it's a very replacement level card. I think I'd rather have a Teo's Light Shield. And at this point, I'm not sure whether I'm going to be playing black or blue. There's still the Kaya's Ghost form, but I don't really want to like gamble on this right now. I'm pretty positive I'm playing white at this point, so I want to just end up getting in on the Teo's Light Shield. Aid the Fallen is a card that you can play like one copy of if you have enough Planeswalkers. 2 mana to return just a creature is not very good, but if you can get a Planeswalker too, it is quite nice. Already talked about the opportunities being like mediocre to bad, like not a super big fan. Forced Landing is more of a sideboard card if your deck really struggles with flyers. So here we're going to take the Teo's Light Shield over the Battlefield Promotion. If I was in a more aggressive deck, if I had more good 2-drops, I would take the Battlefield Promotion, but as it is, it looks like I'm going to be more defensive, and Teo's Light Shield is going to be fine no matter what my deck ends up looking like, I think. Okie doke. Dovin Hand of Control is a card that I'm not a big fan of. The fact that it, as the game goes longer, it just loses its value means that you're going to have to be a very aggressive deck to utilize this. And if you are an aggressive deck, you're giving your opponent a free blocker to like block your creature with, and that creature won't die because it doesn't take damage. So Dovin Hand of Control, not a card I'm a huge fan of. I don't think it's good in limited or even really that good in constructed, but don't really care about the constructed aspect. Pouncing Lynx is a card that I think if you're an aggressive deck you'll want. If you can go like Pouncing Lynx into Teo's Light Shield, weird as that sounds, you can like make a pretty decent beater and then proliferate onto it and stuff. Also like white is a color that I'm guaranteed to play at this point, so Pouncing Lynx could be the pick here. Especially over because the other card is like another 2-drop in a different color that I'm not guaranteed to play. Lazotep Behemoth is not particularly great, just a vanilla 5-drop. You can play it. 5 mana 5/4 is not the end of the world to play. It's like almost good enough. Like a 5 mana 5/5 is good. So Lazotep Behemoth is just mediocre, but definitely not a card I'm going to take over a white card, especially because white is my main color. Invading Manticore, 6 mana 4/5 that amasses 2 when it enters the battlefield is just a like not a great body. Like 4/5 is not huge, and then amass 2 is not super good, but it's definitely a solid card. You can play it as a top end card. Samet Sprint I think is going to be pretty good. If you can like win a combat with this, it's nice, and then it gives you some additional upside. So it's not insane or anything, but it's definitely a playable card. And then the Force Landing we already talked about. We're just going to take the Pouncing Lynx here. Even a defensive deck will want cards like that a decent amount of the time. Defiant Strike is a card that actually works pretty well with Pouncing Lynx. Doesn't really work well with some of my other cards, but it's a card I can get off Augur of Bolas. Topple the Statue, maybe going to be better for this type of deck. No Escape I could take. Sorry, I had to cough. No Escape is a card I could take. If I wanted to move towards blue, I could take an Unlikely Aid. Not really looking to play green at this point. So it's between taking a mediocre white card or a better blue or better black card. So I think I am going to take one of either the blue card or the black card. I haven't really been seeing a ton of black, but I have seen a couple of blue cards late. I saw that Casmina. So I think blue is more likely to be open, but I think Unlikely Aid's a better card for limited. So with that in mind, I think I'm going to take the Unlikely Aid. I'd also rather play Massacre Girl than Augur of Bolas, so we'll just take the black card and see if we can make it work. Now there's a Bulwark Giant, or a Kaya's Ghost Form, or a Toll the Invasion. Sorry about that. This is more of a sideboard card if your matchup is slow. Let's just take Bulwark Giant. Maybe we'll want to play it. We'll see how our deck ends up looking. Another Teo's Light Shield is a card I'm going to be happy to play. And now I can start like prioritizing Proliferate stuff. I'll take the Dusk Mantle Operative, just get another 2-drop. And I'd rather play black than blue, so this is just a nice little way to potentially move myself into that combination. Then we'll take a Wall of Runes. We could still potentially play blue, and then we'll get a Davriel Shadow Fugue, maybe a sideboard option. Domri Anarch of Bolas is a fine card in limited. I'm gonna go through this entire pack and then talk about the card I'm gonna take. At this point, it's looking like I'm gonna just right off the bat I'm gonna take Ugin's Conjurant. I already discussed how this card's pretty good, or the Divine Arrow, but I'm just gonna talk about the cards. I want to use this as an opportunity to go through the cards so that people understand how to evaluate them for limited. Domri is gonna be a pretty good card in limited. It can ramp you, it can be used as a removal spell, and it gives your creatures a passive bonus. So Domri is very good in limited, but it's neither of my colors, so I can't take it here. Dovin's Veto is gonna be a card that is a good sideboard option, but you generally don't want to run negate effects in the main deck, and it's kind of hard to cast. So Dovin's Veto is going to be solid if you're like a white-blue deck out of the sideboard, but not really a main deck card in my opinion. The can't be countered is not really relevant in limited. Leyline Prowler is very good. Death Touch and Lifelink means that it's a very good attacker and a very good blocker. And the ability to ramp you is also just incredible, and add mana of any color. So I think this card's great for black-green decks. I think it's going to make black-green like the color that color combination in conjunction with the other uncommon that like searches for a basic land. I think this is going to make black-green like the multicolor deck in limited. Ugin's Conjurant I already discussed. Very nice effect. Also works with Proliferate, so that's just a nice thing to have in mind. Defiant Striker we already talked about. Divine Arrow is very good as a removal effect. I don't think Sky Theater Strix is very good. 2 mana 1/2 flyer is just not big enough, and it doesn't get like permanently buffed when you cast non-creature spells, so it's just kind of got bad prowess in a way. So not a huge fan of Sky Theater Strix though. It's like mediocre, so like mediocrely bad if you need to play it, need an extra playable. Lazarus Behemoth we already discussed. On-Crop Invader, if you have some things to sacrifice, it gets much better. We already talked about that card and that card. Crawl Stinger, 3 mana 2/2 Death Touch is just going to be very like a solid card in any format pretty much. It can attack through anything, it can block anything, and if there's a lot of big creatures running around, it does good work. Kron Strangler, I got completely destroyed by this in Sealed, and I think this card's even better in Draft. You can just put cards that are big into your deck and kind of build around it a little bit, and if you have Proliferate, this card can get counters by itself without needing to be enabled, so that's just a good effect. And then Prismite we already talked about. So here it's between Ugin's Conjurant and the Divine Arrow. I think we are going to take the Divine Arrow. We already have one Ugin's Conjurant, and the thing with Ugin's Conjurant is it's never like insane on your curve. Like a 2 mana 2/2 is not great. A 3 mana 3/3 is like solid. 4 mana 4/4 solid. But I will just want to make sure I have access to enough removal. Though I do already have 2 types of this effect, and they do get worse in multiples. So, I am just going to take the Ugin's Conjurant, I think I want to have more proactive cards. I was just thinking about it more, and in a set with a lot of Planeswalkers, you want to be having creatures that can attack, and right now I'm kind of lacking those. I have a couple like defensive options, but I don't really have any great like like really good attackers. And Divine Arrow, I can definitely see a scenario where my opponent just plays a Planeswalker and all I have is Divine Arrow. So I'm just going to take the Ugin's Conjurant, and I'm going to prioritize Proliferate cards a little bit higher than I would, because I think like Martyr for the Cause could actually be very good in my deck because I have 2 Teos Light Shields and 2 Ugin's Conjurants that both use counters. So just something to keep in mind. In this pack, the Wanderer comes to mind. It prevents a lot of the red removal spells. It can kill creatures like multiple times. It can just win you the game by itself if your opponent has a couple big creatures in play and you can protect it for a turn. So I think the Wanderer is very good. That being said, there's also Bleeding Edge, which is a very nice removal spell. If I ended up playing black, it can just kill a creature and give me a 2/2, which is a very nice effect. And that, I think, is even worse than Ob Nixilis' Cruelty, which is a little bit easier to cast, and it kills bigger things, which I think is more valuable than the Amass 2. So I think this card's better than Bleeding Edge. Ob Nixilis' Cruelty, I think, is probably the best black common, so that's a really incredible card. We've already talked about a lot of the cards in this pack, but I will go over them again. I think, I'll go over the ones I haven't discussed. Bolt Bend, I don't think is like very good. It requires a very specific scenario, and if your opponent just doesn't have a removal spell, or you can't afford to hold up the mana for the turn that you need it, it's just not a very good card. Divine Drake, we talked about. Martyr for the Cause, I think if you have enough Proliferate, can be quite nice. It's also just a 2-mana 2/2, so that can never be too bad in limited. Though depending on the format, sometimes you don't really want to play 2-mana 2/2s. But if I have 2 Ugins Conjure and a couple of Teos Light Shields and maybe a Planeswalker or 2, it does get a lot better. Callous Dismissal, I think, is really nice because it can kill Amass tokens. It can also bounce your own Planeswalkers to reset them so you can get more value from them. So definitely a card that I think is a little bit better than it looks, given that it's a sorcery speed bounce spell. And it also just amasses 1, so it gives you a 1/1, or it builds up your army. Contentious Plan, a card that you can play in some decks, but you really do want to have a lot of +1/+1 counters and Planeswalkers to play Contentious Plan. I don't think it's an insane card on its own. Relentless Advance, I'm not a fan of. 4-mana 3/3 is bad in limited, and then 4-mana put 3 counters onto a creature is generally not good either. So I'm not a huge fan of Relentless Advance. I already talked about all these other cards. So here the pick is between the Wanderer, Ob Nixilis' Cruelty, and maybe in some cases Bleeding Edge. I really do like the Wanderer. It's a really good creature, and I already have a decent amount of removal. I have a Divine Arrow, I have a Gideon's Triumph, I have a Wanderer Strike, so I have 3 removal spells already, and I think I just would rather have a Planeswalker. This is also a removal spell, and it just really does a lot of good work. Nahiri, Storm of Stone, is another removal spell, another Planeswalker, works nicely with Proliferate stuff, so I do want to pick up some Proliferate things at some point along the line here. You can just cast this in a white deck, kill a tapped creature, and then give all your other creatures first strike as a passive ability, which is really a nice effect. So I think Nahiri is going to be the pick here. Trusted Pegasus is nice, but it's for more of an aggressive deck, and my deck doesn't seem super aggressive at this point. My deck just has a bunch of removal, and probably going to win with a giant Ugins Conjurant at some point along the line. So I'm just going to take the Nahiri here, but let's talk about the other cards in the pack. 10th District Legionnaire, I think, is good in a red-white deck, going to be very effective. You can start taking cards like Defiant Strike higher when you have a 10th District Legionnaire. It's going to get in for 2 on turn 2 and then just go bigger and bigger as the game goes on and scry you into more action and more pump spells for it. Pouncing Lynx is a card that I do have in my deck, but I might not run it. Teos, because I'm not looking to be super aggressive right now. Teos Light Shield, definitely a card that can be a good enabler in this set, so I'm definitely looking to play cards like Teo. Wait, does Augur say non-creature? No, it's instant sorcery. Teo's Light Shield, I already talked about it. It's going to be solid. Same with Topple. Trusted Pegasus, I do want to reiterate, is going to be a very good card, especially if you're more aggressive. But my deck's more defensive, so I would rather have a Nahiri. Oh, I haven't talked about Shriek Diver. I think Shriek Diver is quite nice. The fact that it can gain haste in the late game is quite relevant, and on turn 3, it's just a solid effect. Also, it's a zombie bird warrior, which is kind of funny, so not that changes the card impact, but I think that Shriek Diver is going to be an effective card in the set, and it's good for pressuring Planeswalkers. Vraska's Finisher, the fact that it can kill a damaged Planeswalker means that you can attack your 1/1 into their Planeswalker and then Vraska's Finisher, which makes this card a very effective card and a card that I'm happy to play. I think it's going to be worse than Nahiri a lot of the time, but I think Vraska's Finisher is quite good. And then Iron Bully is a card that I think is going to be underrated a little bit. 3-mana 2/2 menace might sound bad, but the fact that there's going to be a decent amount of Proliferate in the set, and the fact that you can put the counter on anything means that it's going to be a little bit more utility than you think. We're just going to take the Nahiri here. And now there's another Wanderer Strike. We've already talked about most of the cards in this pack. We haven't talked about Heartfire, though. Heartfire is just going to be effective. You can sacrifice a Planeswalker that's on low loyalty. You can go for the classic Chump block and then Heartfire their other creature tactic. So 2-mana deal 4 to any target. You can kill Planeswalkers with it. Heartfire is going to be very good. One of the better red cards, for sure. I think it's a little bit worse than the Jaya card, the 2-mana deal 3 scry one, but it's still a very effective card. And it's going to make you want to prioritize cards that you can sacrifice and not be too unhappy sacrificing. cards that come with an amass token attached or things like that. Lazotep plating we already talked about. It's going to be pretty solid, but it looks like we're going to be a base white deck that has some either blue or black. Probably black, though, because we do have the Massacre Girl there. Wanderer Strike. Wanderer Strike is just going to be a very good card in this deck. We have a decent amount of +1/+1 counter synergy. We want to have proliferate mechanics and removal spells, so Wanderer Strike is going to be the pick here for me. Okay, another Wanderer Strike, pretty easy pick here. Courage and Crisis, I'm not sure how good this is. I don't think it's really good for the start, but if you have the right deck, it could definitely have potential. Putting a counter on the creature and then proliferating means that it's going to put 2 counters on at the minimum, and if you can put like 3 or 4 counters on, this is going to be brutal. So if you have the right deck, I could see this being good. And then Raging Crunch, I think Raging Crunch is quite good. A 3-mana 4/3 that can't attack alone. The can't attack alone is a bit of a drawback, but it can block alone, so it's a very good defensive tool, and if it does get attacking, it's pretty effective. So we're going to just take the Wanderer Strike here. We don't want to have too many expensive cards, but Wanderer Strike is still very good. Lazotep Reaver is the type of card that really rewards you for having cards that you can sacrifice things for value, because you can just sacrifice the 1/2, or you can sacrifice the 1/1 that it comes with, so it's just really nice for that type of effect in your deck. Looking at this pack, though, Teferi's Time Twist I also think is pretty nice. You can oftentimes reset your Planeswalker, or you can save your creature from removal spells, or things like that, so I think Teferi's Time Twist is a good card, and it can also start enabling your Proliferate. Ajani's Pridemate, I don't have any life gain right now, but I do, I can pick some up along the way, and it's just a solid 2-drop because it's got a lot of upside if I can get some life gain going. Trusted Pegasus I think is going to be a little bit better in this deck in particular, just because I give my like Ugin's Conjurance flying or get in for some chip damage. And then Flux Channeler is a nice card, but that works really nicely with Planeswalkers. But overall, I don't think I want to be playing blue at this point. Primordial Worm is just a big creature, not really a card you're super happy to play, but you can play it if you need a payoff. Return to Nature is a very good sideboard card, but not really a card I want to main deck. So here it's between the Pridemate and the Trusted Pegasus, and I already have a couple of 2-drops. I have the Pouncing. I think at this point I'm probably just playing white-black, but I could still segue into blue if I open a good rare in pack 3 or get past a really good card. I have a couple of 2-drops already. I have the Pouncing Lynx, the Duskmantle. I think I'm just going to take the Trusted Pegasus because getting your evasion going is really important. Immediate Regret. Battlefield Promotion works really nicely with the Ajani's Pridemate, but, you know, you live and you learn. Battlefield Promotion, probably not a super good card in my deck. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 creatures. You don't want to have Combat Tricks if you're a low creature deck. That being said, it's an okay card. I think Huatli is going to be really good in this deck, though, or relatively good in this deck. If I have a couple Teo's Light Shield type effects going on, but maybe maybe it's not going to be as good as I think. It just buffs 2 of my creatures at this point, so it's a card that maybe if I had more Teo's Light Shields I would want, but not a super effective card, I guess, at the moment, because it only helps 2 of my cards and actually hurts my Pouncing Lynx. I think Gideon's Sacrifice is going to be a card that you get wrecked by like at least once, and then like it's relatively easy to play around, and it's not super good in multiples, and it definitely has scenarios where it does nothing. So I'm not the hugest fan of the card, but I think it has potential to do some good things, especially in a surprise situation where your opponent doesn't expect it. Demolish is just unplayable and limited. Devouring Helion can start you going on counters, and it can eat smaller creatures and get you some value there, but like your Lazotep Reaver type effect cards. But overall, not a super effective card if you don't have the ways to enable it, because if you are sacrificing your creatures and then they just Wanderer Strike it, and you just get into a lot of trouble with that. Rising Populace could be okay, because I do have a decent amount of Proliferate. I have 3 copies of Wanderer Strike now, which is pretty much all the Proliferate you need to start really prioritizing +1/+1 counter cards. I don't really think I want a Battlefield Promotion in this deck, so I think I'm just going to take Rising Populace to like further go with those counter themes that I have. Okie doke. Sorin's Thirst is a very good removal spell. 2 mana and deal 2, gain 2 is just really nice, and it is going to be an effective removal spell in this type of deck. Cruel Celebrant, not really a type of card that I want to be playing. 2 mana 1/2s just aren't great and limited, and I don't really have a good like Aristocrats deck, which is where you have like a bunch of small creatures and then sacrifice them to do a bunch of stuff. Then we have Price of Betrayal, which is more of a sideboard card if your opponent has some Planeswalkers that are really good. I don't really want to main deck this. I'm just going to take the Sorin's Thirst here. Okie doke. In this pack, Defiant Strike came back. I could definitely see taking that. I could see taking a Lazotep Behemoth in certain situations. I think we'll just take the Defiant Strike, though, and probably not to play it. And Martyr for the Cause came back. That's actually really nice to see. I do like having more 2-drops, and I like having more ways to proliferate. Another Teo's Light Shield. I think I'll take that over a Pouncing Lynx. Just more counters, more proliferate stuff. I have 3 Wanderer Strikes, so I'm just going to be able to make my creatures pretty big. And also, I don't really think I'm going to be super aggressive attacking, so having multiple Pouncing Lynxes sounds like not a great situation for me. Get another Defiant Strike. I'll just take the uncommon. Heartfire was the last pick. I don't understand that, but, you know, arena bots are still learning. Wow, we got a very good rare here. Dreadhorde Invasion is very strong. It essentially just slowly chips away at your opponent. It makes me want to play cards like this Bulwark Giant so that I can have a high enough life total to consistently use it. Because if you play this on turn 2, your opponent just basically can't win the game, is what it feels like. I've had this played against me, and it's just a very, 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 very strong rare. You do lose life slowly, but you're also making a bigger and bigger creature every turn, so it's just a very effective card. And you can just trade off that creature and start rebuilding process. Jaya Venerated Fire Mage is a nice card. 5 mana to deal 2 twice is pretty nice, and it can also buff your other red cards. You do need to have a way to protect this one, because it doesn't really do a good job of killing too many things, but it can do good work, especially combined with cards like Chandra's Pyrohelix, where you then deal 2 damage to each of those creatures. So I think there's a card you can take early and build around a little bit. Evolution Sage is going to be good if you have any counter synergies. Every time you play a land, putting a counter like 2 or 3 creatures would be really good. It's also just a 3 mana 3/2, so not a huge amount of downside there. A very strong card. Dovin's Veto we talked about. Spellgorger, Spellkeeper weird. I think there's enough powerful instants and sorceries that this card's going to have a place in the format, but it's a very slow card, so it's not a card that you're going to want to play in every deck, and it is a card that you don't really want multiple copies of. Unlike the 8 we talked about. Blind Blast, I think this card's going to be effective because it can sometimes kill creatures, and then sometimes it can just get them out of the way so you can kill your opponent or their planeswalkers, so a card that I think is going to be pretty good. But definitely not... I think it's worse than Chandra's Pyrohelix and Jaya Venerated Fire Mage in this deck. Pyrohelix is just very flexible. You can kill 2 things, you can finish one thing off and deal damage to the face, or you can deal damage just to the face, or it's just very flexible like that. I think it's going to be an okay card. It can also just deal 2 damage to something, so a card that has a lot of uses. You can finish off planeswalkers, so nice card. 2 mana 2/2 Goblin Assailant, not a super effective card, but it's a card that you'll play sometimes if you need a card for your aggressive curve out deck. Honor the God Pharaoh, a card that's going to be okay in the Spells Matters decks, but you generally don't want to be playing 3 mana cards that don't affect the board really, and amassing 1 doesn't really affect the board. Centaur Nurture are going to be a key component of the multicolored ramp decks, usually the black-green decks, I think, but there's going to be multicolored green decks thanks to the rampant growth, not rampant growth, whatever it's called. The 3 mana enchantment that proliferate, that puts a counter and gives you 2 mana of any color. So that's going to give green a strong base for splashing. And then the Iron Bully we discussed. We're just taking Dreadhorde Invasion though. Okay, Vizier of the Scorpion is a card that I'll talk about, I'll go in order. Rescuer Sphinx is very good. The fact that you can reset your planeswalkers just makes this card quite nice. There's also some enters to battlefield effects, so Rescuer Sphinx is going to be a very good card in Limited, and a card you should be taking highly, but I'm playing black, so I'm not taking it here. Price of Betrayal, I already talked about, sideboard card. We don't really need a 3rd Wanderer Strike, though I would take it over the Law Rune Enforcer. Law Rune Enforcer is pretty good, but I'd rather have a just removal spell, especially with the Proliferate, and it can, get me going on the Proliferate stuff. Vizier of the Scorpion. 3 mana 1/1 that summons a 1/1 Death Touch is good, and it gives your other amassed cards Death Touch as well. I think this card's going to be quite effective. I think it's going to be maybe a little bit worse than the Obnix's Cruelty, but I'm not 100% sure on that even. So something to keep in mind for sure. How many removal spells? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have a ton of removal spells. That being said, Obnix's Cruelty is still quite nice. So I still am considering just taking that. Turret Ogre, just a solid card, 4 mana 4/3 with some extra upside. And it has reach, so that's nice. Herald of the Red Horde, not a card I'm a huge fan of. 4 mana 3/2 is just not big enough. It does die into a 2 mass, so that's okay. So it's like going to be a solid playable, just a medium card. Those are all the new cards that I haven't talked about yet. So it's here between Vizier of the Scorpion for me and Obnix's Cruelty. Let's just see how many creatures we have. 1, 2, 3. This kind of a creature. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. we have a decent number of creatures. We don't have a ton of amass. I think I'm just gonna take the removal spell. Hard to go wrong with that pick, though. I could see it being learning from that experience and taking something else later on in the format. Invade the City is a card that's really hard to evaluate, but I'm not 100% sure it's good at this point because you do need to work to enable it, and even if you do enable it, you're just getting like a big creature that can just be killed. So not a huge fan of Invade the City at this point, but it could definitely change my mind on that later. Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner is a good card. It ramps you because you can untap lands with it. It can also, like, if you combine it with the enchantment that doubles up, makes a land tap for 2 mana, it's even more effective. And then also just it can draw you some cards and replace itself, so that's just a good card to have in your deck. Ugin's Conjurant, we already talked about. I think that's probably going to be the pick out of this pack. There is another Sorin's Thirst here, but I just want to have, I already have 2 of them. Maybe I don't need even more copies of it. So Sorin's Thirst could just be the pick here. Yeah, it's close, I think, but I'm just going to take the Sorin's Thirst. I've talked about all the other cards in this pack. This is the card, New Horizons. I kept thinking Rampant Growth, but that's definitely not the name. So I think I'm just going to take the Sorin's Thirst over the... I already have a ton of removal. I'm just going to take Ugin's Conjurant so I have more ways to win the game once things have gotten rolling for me. Now I'm going to take the Lazotep Reaver. It's just good to have access to a little bit of early blocking. It's a great 2-drop, and overall it's going to be very good in my deck. It can help me get my Dreadhorde Invasion bigger. It can give me more creatures to proliferate onto. Just a great card in this deck. Erratic Visionary is going to be a good card in the set. 2 mana, 1/3 can block very well, and it can also loot you. So it's a very good card for blue, but I'm not blue, so we're just going to take the Lazotep Reaver. Very good 2-drop. Another, speaking of good 2-drops, Eternal Chainmaster is also quite nice. 2 mana, 2/3 is really good, and it can attack and bring creatures back from your graveyard, so definitely taking that. I kind of wish I had the Vizier of the Scorpion now, but hard to go wrong with Cruelty. And then there's another Rising Populous. War Screecher is going to be a very good 2-drop. Just a solid 2-drop. Not insane, but 2 mana, 1/3 flyer is already going to be solid. And then it can pump your creatures in the late game, so that's in a little bit of extra value. Oh, man. D-Spark. Nice. Even more removal. Exile permanent for 2 mana with Converted Mana 4 or greater, so definitely taking this. I've already talked about the other cards in this pack, except for the Thundering Ceratok. It's not going to be great. 4 mana, 5 mana, 4/5 isn't insane. And then giving your other creatures trample is not a super great ability. So just a very mediocre to bad card. But definitely taking D-Spark. We got an Ob Nixilis. That's a great card. We can kill our own creatures to get some extra value. We can kill our opponent's creatures. We can proliferate onto this. Overall, Ob Nixilis is a great card, and I'm very happy to see it here. We don't really want Cruel Celebrant. We don't really need another Sorin's Thirst. Tidebearer Giant is fine, but it's very slow, and we already have a lot of good value plays later on, like Ugin's Conjurants. So definitely just going to take the Ob Nixilis, the Hate Twisted. Okay, not really anything for us in this pack. Totally Lost is like mediocre in most decks. Loxodon Sergeant I think is unplayable. 4 mana, 3/3 that gives your other creature vigilance isn't great. And those are the only cards we haven't talked about. Let's just take the Charity Extractor. Now we will take either Unlikely Aid or Iron Bully. I'm leaning towards taking the Iron Bully just so I have more things to proliferate onto. I already have 1 Unlikely Aid, so I think I'll just take the Iron Bully. And now we can get a Shriek Diver going, or we could take a Price of Betrayal. I just like getting the Shriek Diver, I think. And we already have a lot of playables, so let's just take the Price of Betrayal in case our opponent has some really good Planeswalkers we have to kill. And now we'll get a Topple the Statue. Duskmantle Operative. Get that uncommon going. And we got the Ironclad Crowbot. So those are just, that was just a lot of the drafting process. I wanted to go through all the cards in detail because the set is new. So I hope you found that helpful. It was a very long draft because I wanted to talk about all the cards, but hopefully you have found that part helpful. In this part, we're going to build the deck, and then we're going to play I think 3 matches with the deck. So we have more white cards than black cards, so we are going to want to lean towards the white. But let's see, what are our worst cards? We already have 3 Tails Light Shield, and Tails Light Shield is probably a little bit better than... So we don't really need the Duskmantle Operatives. We don't really want Pouncing Links. Probably not a really good Unlikely Aid deck because we only have 14 creatures. And now we need 3 more cuts. I think we do want the Bulwark Giant just so we can gain some life but it is a 6-drop, which is kind of very expensive. Yeah, we can cut the Bulwark Giant. Just have to remember to preserve our life total for Dreadhorde Invasion. Let's cut Rising Populace. Yeah. And then we'll cut Iron Bully, because it's more of an aggressive card and we're going to be a more defensive deck. So that is going to do it for the build process. Let's dive into some matches and see how it performs. And if you're a fan of more in-depth drafting processes where I talk about all of my picks and stuff like that, be sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe to get more content in the future. Let me know what you thought of that very in-depth draft. I wanted to make sure I talked about all the cards because they're very new, and I wanted you guys to know what you should be doing in your own drafts. On the draw, we can keep this hand. It's a slow hand, but we have a couple of removal spells. When I say couple, we have every card in our hand kills something, and we do have 9 planes in our deck. That's one of our better draws that wasn't a planes, because it means we can kill an early play, so we can stabilize and get stuff going. Okay, Sky Theater Strix. We're not just going to fire off our removal spell right away. We're going to see what our opponent does. He might play a creature that has more power that we want to kill. We don't really care about getting hit for 1 for a couple turns. Okay, we're going to wait to see what 3-drop he plays, and then we'll kill it. The 1 damage generally won't matter, but if he plays like a better 3-drop, we will want to kill it. Okay, we will just play our Ugin's Conjurant. Just get him down. Opponent just concedes. Okay. Yeah, we do not have a good hand there. I think I misread Ugin's Conjurant. I thought it just removed 1 counter to prevent the damage. But it's still going to be an effective card because, yeah, but just not as good as I thought. Because if they, like, double block it, they'll still kill it. Yeah, I misread that card. Whoops. That being said, it's still going to be an effective card in our deck. And it's still just a very good card. You can make it a 6/6, and yeah. Proliferate works well with it. But it is relatively easy to kill. It just works its way down. Let's see. How do we want to sideboard? We don't really know anything about our opponent's deck. It's a blue-black deck. Let's just run it back. And also, Ugin's Conjuring works really nicely with Proliferate. So I still think it's a good card that I wanted to try out for sure, but not as good as I was thinking at first. Okie doke, we have a great hand here. Definitely keeping. We have our 2-mana 2/3 here. D-Spark's a great draw as well. We're definitely leading with Swamp in case we draw another Swamp. It's never worth it to play Ugin's Conjuring as just a 1/1. We'll play it as a 3/3 here. Get the Taskmaster into play. Why does it want to give me the option to cast this as a 0/0? That's so unfortunate. Okay, so he makes this into a 1/1. Okie doke. Let's just play our 3/3 here. Yeah, we'll just be able to put some pressure on him here. We can Sorin's Thirst him. We can Gideon's Triumph. Use our D-Spark. Ashiok. Yeah, Ashiok's not great. I don't really care about Ashiok. Okay. He hit some of my more proactive cards. But we will still just play Martyr for the cause. Let's just hit my opponent. I'm not really worried about the Ashiok at this point. And now if he plays something, I can D-Spark it. And if he uses Ashiok again, okay, sure. I could have held up Sorin's Thirst or D-Spark. I think I was more hoping that I could. Okay. Okay. So we will Sorin's Thirst this. So let's just keep hitting his face. Like, our deck is still got 20 cards in it, so even if he mills us a couple more times, we're still not going to be able to lose this game, really. Yeah. Sure. So he's just going all in on Ashiok, and we're just hitting him. We'll just end the turn. We have several different removal spells, all of which will be able to kill him. Sure. Sure. So we get him with this Gideon's Triumph. Even if he didn't have to sacrifice the creature, the damage would be prevented, so he wouldn't gain life. Boom, and we got the win in round 1 against General Minus. Overall, not a super difficult round, but, you know, everyone's still learning. But yeah, our deck performed pretty well there. It was more of a defensive game, but, I mean, more of an aggressive game for our defensive deck, but our opponent didn't really do anything either game, so hopefully this round's a little bit better. Playing against Left Hook. The old 1-2 punch, the left hook, into the uppercut, into the jab. Oh, this is a great hand. Oh my goodness. Definitely a fan. 2 mana, 3 mana. Then we let the proliferating commence. I definitely misplayed that. I should play my swamp so in case I drew Sorin's Thirst, but it's not going to matter. I want to play Taskmaster on turn 2 anyway. Taskmaster into Pegasus is going to be a nice little beat down draw for my deck. Into maybe a Conjurant. Or a Teo's Light Shield. I can maybe put all of my creatures up to 3 toughness, which could be good. Keeps them safe from the Massacre Girl. Oh my gosh. Wanderer Strike is going to be able to proliferate all my stuff. It's going to be good. Okay, so Healy's Silverwing. So he knows that I now have a Lazotep Reaver. So let's... play this as a 4/4. No attacks. I could just... I'm going to Teo's Light Shield onto the Pegasus next turn. And then probably play Lazotep Reaver as well. And then I can Wanderer Strike and proliferate a ton. But I just want to set up, play this guy. Whoa. That's an aggressive attack. That makes me think he has +1/+4 untap this creature. He didn't have that. Interesting. Well, we're going to just get our guy out here, and then we'll Divine Arrow this next time it attacks. Okay. Perfect. So we can get that Teo's light shield going. Put him on a 2-turn clock. And then next turn when we proliferate, we're going to make this bigger, and this bigger, and kill his only flying blocker. Okay. Well, that's good for us. Okay, now he has another flying blocker, but not worried about that. I think he might just be dead. So let's, if we attack with everything, he can only block one of our ground creatures. Well, this is granted useless. So we would take this. If we are going to attack for 9 in the air, he's going to block here. Take 4, he goes to 3. Then he can block 2 here, and he dies. So he has to jump here, and then he blocks here, he just takes the remaining 3. Boom. Got there against left hook. Okay, so his deck, he's got 3 colors, and he just concedes the match. Well, left hook has had enough. I guess we hit him with the old 1-2 jab, and he couldn't stomach it. On to the next round, cruising here with our black-white deck. We could have cast a Massacre Girl and wiped the board there, I think. Killed all of our own creatures. It would have been kind of funny. Man, opponent did not know what hit him. Man, our opponent won the die roll. Being on the draw is not a huge downside for our deck, though. We have a ton of removal that is all good, pretty good on the draw. Oh, man. This is the hand we need. Oh, this is the greatest hand. Oh, man. We're going to get our turn 2 Dreadhorde Invasion and then just ride it to victory. Oh, opponent also has it. Oh, this is going to be a sweet game. This is going to be a sweet game. Our Wanderer is going to be able to take out his at some point. Oh my goodness. This is insane. Oh, this is insane. Oh my gosh. Probably going to Divine Arrow the Sky Theater Strix. Okay. Okay, I see what you're up to, opponent. This is going to be crazy. I was like, well, we can't lose. We have our Dreadhorde Invasion, but he has one too. Oh, I think we're going to be favored here just because we have couple of removal spells that can just kill his zombie straight up. 3 to the top. Oh, that's unfortunate for me. Okay, so that guy's down. But we are taking 2. And we will keep his zombie in check. Whew. Man, this is insane. We have a D-Spark to kill any big Planeswalker he plays. Wow, main decking Price of Betrayal. Wow, bold choice. We still did get a 2-for-1 because we killed his creature and he used a removal spell, but yikes. Well, well, well. The old proliferate action here. Huh. I kind of hope my opponent makes his guy a little bit bigger, because then we can wander it, and that'd be really good. Really, really good. Not cool, bro. We will make him sacrifice it. Keep in mind we are ahead on the life total race, which is the all-important metric in this crucial matchup. I think we'll kill our own guy. Oh, that's really good. Those are good draws. So opponent's taking 2 damage a turn here while our Obnixilis is alive. Okay, that's going to eat a D-Spark, I must say. Well, 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 opponent. Okay, so we're going to D-Spark our opponent's Nissa. That's happening. Then we will Teo's Light Shield our itself. And now we can Wanderer Strike to double proliferate. We are in a risky spot here. We have to survive this turn. Okay, that's okay. So we'll just eat his guy, go to 5. Hopefully we draw land here. Land! Land me. Okay, we're just going to start firing off Wanderer Strikes. No attacks. Next turn, we can Wanderer Strike his zombie, get 2 counters, kill him. Boom! We are the masters of the Dreadhorde Invasion combo. Let's go! That was exciting stuff. Okay, so against him, what's going to be good? Price of Betrayal is going to be good. And probably that's it. Rising Populace would have been a house in that game. Huh. Let's see. What's bad in our matchup, though? Let's cut an Ugin's Conjurant. Let's cut a Teo's Light Shield for the D-Spark. Oh, okie doke. We don't have our busted rare, but hopefully he doesn't either, and we can just play a normal game. Because if you have Dreadhorde Invasion and they don't, it's just a one-sided battle. Being a blue-black deck, he will be able to find it a little bit easier than us. Oh, please no. Oh, thank goodness. We did it. We'll just play our 2-mana 2/2. We want to be able to play our Lazotep Reaver and then threaten to trade this off. This just attacks better into more creatures. And a 1/2 and a 2/2. I mean, then a 1/1/2 and a 1/1. Okay, we'll play our Lazotep Reaver now. In case he has some way to kill this while it attacks. Okay, that didn't work out quite the way we hoped, but he did have to use his removal spell on our 2/2, so that's good. It looks like he's a little bit land screwed. I don't see why you would use that on a 2/2, but he probably has reasons. Okay, let's attack. And then we'll play our 4/4. Maybe he's color screwed and doesn't have blue mana, and just wanted to stall with his Nixlus's Cruelty. Dang it. Price of Betrayal. This is the downside of having a very reactive deck, is you can't punish your opponent for stumbling. There's a Teo's Light Shield. Let's put the counter onto our Lazotep Reaver. Get in for max damage. Will Wanderer strike the first creature he plays. This is a crazy game. Nothing's happened. My opponent has played 2 spells, and I played like I have 5 removal spells in my hand. Like, what the heck? This is unreal. Absolutely, positively, unbelievably unreal. Okay. Well, there's a land. Just keep swimming. Whew. Wow. Who would have thought Lazotep Reaver going the distance? Oh my gosh. Boom, and we get the W. So we're just cruising here. Just cruising. You know what they say. Baby, you're a song, you make me want to roll my windows down and cruise. Hashtag Florida Georgia line. Well, things are going well for our deck. Currently getting W's all over the place. That first game was insane, though. Okay, we will play first, and we will keep this hand. The old Taskmaster Light Shield combo. Into just keeping our Taskmaster hitting my opponent constantly. Please whiff. Miss. Miss. Yay! Okay, let's put a counter onto this Taskmaster. And then we're going to play our Ugin's Conjurant. It's just a nice proactive play on turn 4. Unfortunate. Okay. The thing is we just have so many removal spells. If only our Taskmaster was still alive. He scried 3 to the bottom, okay. Oh man, I really wish we'd hit that land drop so we could play Ob Nixilis. Actually, we wouldn't have had Ob Nixilis. So never mind. Now we kind of want to hit a land drop so we can pressure this opponent even more. Okay. Got him. Get wrecked, Gideon. We will kill our Teo Light Shield to draw. We could have killed Augur of Bolas and put him to 6, but that seems a lot worse. So we play this as a 1/1, and then we proliferate. I think I like just... So we can use this. No, we want to use Wanderer Strike first. On the 3/2 probably. And then we can force him to chump block. Put him to 6. He's going to go to 5. I don't know if that was correct, but it seems alright. Oh, that's not cool, bro. Not cool at all, amigo. Okay. So, Omnixilis may be a bit spewy the way we played that. Ooh. What? Let's just kill that guy. No! Oh no. Oh no. I did not see that coming. Okay. He'll have to sacrifice one of his big creatures. No blocks. I think we have to play this, but it's not going to be ideal. Oh, we're just dead. Never mind. Rats. Degito got us. Got us good. So he has the exchange card. He's got a lot of big creatures, but we have a ton of removal, so that shouldn't be a problem. We want to get a little bit more proactive against his deck, I think. I think we misplayed the Obnixilis situation a little bit, but it was a tough spot for sure. Yeah, I think we're in fine shape. We just have to do a little bit better this time. Draw a little bit more effectively. Have our opponent play cards that line up better with ours. Okay. Well, that's not great. Just want to get some sort of pressure on the board. Wow, he just lets it happen. Okay. Let's just kill it. We have a lot of removal spells, and this clearing the board for our Obnixilis is going to be good. Oh, man. Okay. Let's just shoot that. That was a really good draw. The old Taskmaster. Whew. Oh, this is going great. So we get the Lazotep Reaver out. We do need to draw land so we can Obnixis one of his creatures, but other than that, this game looks about locked up. Perfect. So we Obnixis this, he goes to 4, he blocks the 3, he goes to 1 and dies. Boom, sniped him. Goes out on his own terms, I respect it. I respect it. Okay, game 3. Not much to change. Let's just run it back. Maybe Nahiri isn't the perfect fit for the matchup, but, you know, it's still going to be a good card. We'll keep. On the draw, we're going to draw planes at some point soon, and we don't want to mulligan in this matchup because it's a very grindy one. There's a Lazotep Reaver. Get some pressure down early. That's a good start. Hopefully we can draw planes next turn to Teo's Light Shield the Lazotep Reaver. As it is, gonna have to kill his 3/2. Don't want to fall too far behind on board by just not casting stuff. Unfortunate that we haven't drawn a planes yet, but we'll hit one eventually, and then we'll cast a spell every turn until we win. Oh no, not Ral. Things are looking grim here. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness we hit that planes. We're going to go with the Light Shield first. Going to try and kill this Ral. It's going to be a more grindy matchup. We don't want to have him getting constant value. Hopefully he taps out for like a Kiora's Behemoth this turn so we can Wanderer strike it or the Wanderer it. Probably the Wanderer. He keeps it on top. Sure. So play the land. Play Teo's Light Shield on Teo's Light Shield. If he counters it, he counters it. Yeah, sure. Like, he didn't get all that much value out of the scry, and he countered a Teo's Light Shield, so. Spellgorger, weird, eh? Oh no. Well, that's a little bit unfortunate. Our Wanderer could have protected us from that. But then the Chinese Power Helix would have killed the Wanderer, so. I really hope we draw planes this next turn. There we go. Hopefully he casts a non-creature spell so our Wanderer can kill the Spellgorger weird. Perfect. I'm so worried. I'm not in great shape this game. This Ral has just been doing so much work. I guess that's what rares do sometimes. But yeah, it's still kind of annoying. Also, I didn't draw planes for a while, which kind of hurt me, for sure. Oh, that was a really good draw. Okay, so my guys are protected from burn spells, which is really good. And if he doesn't have, like, too much removal... Aww, that's unfortunate. Oh, he didn't attack. Let's finally just kill this Ral. Oh. We'll chump to protect it. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay, perfect. So we kill that. That was a good draw. Play our land. Play this as a 6/6. No attacks. End the turn. Then if he attacks with his zombie army, we can kill the Skylord. Block it with our Conjurant. And then have him on a bit of a clock. Interesting. Sure. Keep in mind my Wanderer can still just kill this Conjurant. So we do have to trade here. We'll wait. Okay. So we're not in the best shape. We know he has all spells in hand. Okay, so he has 3 spells, I have 1 spell. So I'm going to have to really get good value out of my 1 spell. Of course it's Gideon. No! That's unfortunate. Oh, not another land. This is unfortunate. If I draw my Ugin's Conjurant, I think I can win this game still, though. We're not out of the woods. Oh. That was a good draw. Okay, so we're taking 5 this turn. We have to have a good draw next turn. And that's game. Rats. Rats, rats, rats. Well, I'll be back in a bit with the final round. Potentially. So that round did not go quite according to plan, but we're going to jump right back in. My opponent in that round did have Ral and Gideon and a couple other, I think they had one other rare. I can't remember it exactly right now, but their deck was pretty good, so not super disappointed to lose. But obviously losing is not as good as winning. And I might have been able to play that Obnixus play a little bit better. But let's get in. Oh, they had the swap card. Anyway, this is a great hand, so we're going to keep this one. We have Taskmaster into Pegasus, and then removal spell. So I'm liking the way this hand's looking, and now we have a way to use our Proliferate. So Teo's Light Shield has been doing pretty good work for me, I'd say. It works really nicely with the Obnixilus as well as a way to just kill it easily. Okay, I'm not super worried about the Law Rune Enforcer. It can't tap down... it can tap down all my creatures, but I'll be able to Wanderer Strike it if it actually becomes a problem, and I'll get to Proliferate that counter that I put on. And opponent looks like they are missing a land drop. Ooh, this is going to be really good. Let's go to combat. They're going to tap it down. That makes sense. Play the Pegasus. And now we can potentially go Light Shield one, Light Shield the other, Wanderer Strike a creature, put 2 counters. Okay. So we're going to start off by Light Shielding the Pegasus. Actually, we could have just Light Shield the other one, but let's Light Shield this one. And then if our Pegasus dies, we can buy it back with the Taskmaster. I should have attacked first, though. Not sure if that would... Yeah. So we are going to use the Taskmaster to get back our Pegasus. Because our Pegasus is quite a nice card to have, and... Yeah, okay. Unfortunate. We could have attacked with the Light Shield to play around that one. Maybe we were supposed to, but it is more likely for him to have a the card that just deals 4. Okay, so let's start off with the Trusted Pegasus. Okay, he has the counter. Unfortunate. Okay, he didn't block. Feels bad, man. Let's just play our Teo's Light Shield. Put the counter on itself. And then next turn, if we draw land, we can Lazotep Reaver and Wanderer's Strike. But overall, ooh, that was a good draw. Plays around the Law Rune Enforcer too. Oh, come on. Oh, that's unfortunate. He's playing multiple copies of that. That's really bad for me. That would have been really good. I don't expect people to be playing multiple no escapes, though. It's kind of a hard one to anticipate. So let's do this. And then we won't blow our Wanderer's Strike or anything like that. We can afford to wait. Our opponent's not really doing that much. If we could have resolved that Ugin's Conjurant, we would have been in very good shape. We're going to use the Gideon's Triumph now, make sure we hit something that we actually care about. If I attack with these three, no attacks. Yeah, we're not in great shape, but we have a couple of cards we could be drawing that would be pretty good. Narset, eh? He whiffed. Haha. Get wrecked. So now we will use our Wanderer's Strike. That way we can hit down the Narset as well. Or essentially hit down the Narset. And we will play around the Gideon's thing this time. Unfortunate, but we do get Narset down to 2, so if she wants to use her ability again, she's gone. So she did nothing. That's good for us. Wow, very interesting order there. Oh, that was a great draw. Definitely going to want to kill our own Teo's Light Shield. No attacks. That was a not great series of draws, I must say. We will be chumping this. And then hopefully we can find a removal spell for the Kiora's Dambreaker in the next couple cards. I don't really want to Ob Nixilis it. Oh, that's a great draw. Yeah, I think we will have to kill this. Perfect. Yeah, we're gonna kill the Dambreaker. It's gonna be bigger than most of the other cards he can play. We get a couple more damage in this way. Put some pressure on him. And he is going to have to attack Ob Nixilis with his Enforcer Griffin on one of these attacks. So, and he's at 11 now. And our Dread Horde Invasion is going to be doing a lot of work here, I hope. I think killing my own Teo's Light Shield is a bit too much. Because it... Oh no, that is not what I wanted to see. Another Enforcer Griffin's really bad for me. As is another Swamp. I attacked last turn. Well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, this is going to be a loss probably. Which is really unfortunate, but that's what happens when you draw 11 lands. And your opponent draws 7. Actually 12 lands. Oh my god. Really? Jeez. Oh my god. That was so bad. Oh well. What do we want to change here? They have 2 Gideon's Triumph, so we got to keep that in mind. I probably could have played that a little bit better. They have a couple big flyers. I think we want Unlikely Aid. We'll bring it in over a Teo's Light Shield. No, Unlikely Aid's really bad against the Gideon's thing. Let's try Rising Populace. I just want to try the card out, and we'll play it over a Teo's Light Shield. Because this seems like a very grindy matchup, and things could be dying all over the place. Oh, it's not Psychotog, it's Psy-Hatog. We'll play first. Keep this. We have Dread Horde Invasion on turn 2 on the play with a Sorin's Thirst. This is going to be a good game for us. Oh, and we hit the land. Let's go. Opponent's in trouble. We're going to Teo's Light Shield onto itself. Just so that our Wanderer strikes have more targets. If he trades off, we're fine with that. Let's get that Taskmaster down. Keeping in mind that my opponent does have a couple copies of No Escape in their deck, we're going to want to not cast an Ob Nixilis or an Ugin's Conjuring into that open mana. Also, keep in mind they do have a couple Gideon Sacrifice. So maybe I should be attacking with Teo's Light Shield. Let's sacrifice the Taskmaster. No. Yeah, Taskmaster. Yeah, I probably messed that up. I probably should have attacked with the Light Shield. Attack with everything. I'll definitely sacrifice the Light Shield if he makes me sacrifice something. And I'm not going to cast anything into his counter magic. Boom, and we got the win. Okay, we need to make some changes to our deck to play around counter magic better. Like play a couple cheaper things. Pouncing Lynx has potential. Teo's Light Shield. We just want to have stuff that's easier to get down. Davriel's Shadow Fugue could be actually good in this matchup. Duskmantle Operative has some potential as well. So he has a couple big creatures, but the Wanderer is not going to be as good in this matchup because his removal, it doesn't stop his removal, and also he's got like Kiora's Ram thing, and that's the only thing. Let's cut the Nihiri. I think we want to be the aggressor in this matchup, and we'll cut one Conjurant. We're going way more aggressive in this matchup. Not that we can't play the controller game, the slower game, but I think we want to be more beat down in this type of situation. Oh man, on the draw, I think we keep this hand. We got a 2-drop. We got an Ob Nixilis to draw some cards. It is a lot of lands, but you know, you can't always control the exact number of lands you have. Spellkeeper weird, eh? Okay. No attacks. Let's just kill that. We'll let this get countered if he has a counter spell. We don't really care about our Martyr for the Cause as much. We want to try and save our Wanderer Strikes for his squadron. No, his whatever they're called. He has a lot of counter magic in his deck. So we're not going to just cast our Ob Nixilis into his No Escape. He's like clearly holding it up. Even though he is missing land drops and I'm not. We can't just cast our spells into his junk, into his No Escapes. He has 2 of them. We know he has 2 of them. And now at this point we're just going to wait. We have 7 lands. We might as well wait till 8 lands so we can cast 2 in the same turn. We don't even need to go for it right now though. Because the longer the game goes... Oh, that's perfect. Perfect, that's what I like to see. Okay. So we can go for the Rising Populace and the Ob Nixilis and kill the Enforcer Griffin. Or we can Ob Nixilis kill our own Martyr for the Cause, which will put a counter. Let's double check gameplay. Perfect, it doesn't auto-order triggered ability. So we can Rising Populace, then Ob Nixilis kill our own Martyr for the Cause, which will bring Ob Nixilis back up to 4, so it won't die to the Enforcer Griffin, which we can then kill with our Wanderer Strike. Perfect. So that's just a little bit of nice value that we got there. And his counterspell doesn't counter non-creature spells, so our Wanderer Strike should be able to get the job done. Okay. Unfortunate, but we'll be able to kill the Enforcer Griffin. Our Rising Populace is getting pretty big. We don't want to attack with it alone, though, because we know he has a couple Gideons. And the Rising Populace is now 5/5. Perfect. Oh, that was so good. We'll use this to potentially bait a counterspell. Because we'd rather resolve the Dreadhorde invasion. Okay, perfect. How many Dovin's Vetoes do you have? What? Okay, so he doesn't have enough mana to do that. No attacks. Play our second Duskmantle Operative. Okay, so we're doing our best here. Got to make sure we don't play right into his hands by letting him get it back his Dovin's Veto with his Spellgorger. Weird. He has 5 cards in hand, and we know they're all spells. Okay. Okay. So I think we have to kill the flyer. Please, spells. Oh, come on. Could I buy a spell? So we're going to Wanderer strike his Enforcer Griffin. Attack him for 6. Then these two. That'll get him for 8. Interesting. Okay, we're definitely going to kill the Dam Breaker. Okay, so we've used a lot of our spells. Oh, please whiff. Okay. So we're not going to just run our guy out. Because now that he has no Kiora's Dam Breaker, he has no pressure on us. And if we can resolve a large Ugin's Conjurant, we're going to be in great shape. No! Prison Realm, that's unfortunate. Keep in mind he can get back Dovin's Veto. I'm pretty sure he has a couple counter spells in his hand. Wow, this Narset drawing 2 cards actually was really bad for me. Well, now he can't go for Prison Realm. We're going to attack with all of them, because regardless of what happens, it's going to kill one of his creatures, and this way we don't have to sacrifice our zombie army. And sure, he can sacrifice this to get back a... Wow, he's just really just took that hit. Wow, that's what it was. He has the Wanderer. That makes my Ugin's Conjurant a lot less appealing, I must say. But we will rebuild. Okay. So he has 7 cards in hand. I have 3 cards in hand, but my 3 cards are very good. And he has to pay the tax of holding up his counter magic this entire time. Though I am slowly dying to my own Dreadhorde invasion. So let's try to go for the Teo's Light Shield. Onto the Dusk Mantle Operative. Perfect. Where is he going to scry? To the bottom. Okay. Then he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he can't actually buy back the counter. So let's go for a 7-powered Ugin's Conjurant. Let's hope he hasn't drawn a second counter. One, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Let's actually first just try to kill the Law Rune Enforcer. Because now if he goes for the Dovin's Veto, then we can safely resolve. Oops. We floated a lot more mana than we needed to. Okay. We will pay 2. X equals 5. And now, I guess this can trade, this can block. But now, if he uses the Wanderer, my army gets to kind of do some stuff. I don't know. I guess I misplayed that a little bit. I messed up by my tapping. I didn't undo all the tapping. I thought it would undo everything. Ooh. No attacks. We're just going to play Massacre Girl as a 5-mana 4/4 menace. Hopefully make him sacrifice the Spellkeeper weird to try and counter it. Okay. We're just going to have to hope he doesn't have another counter. Boom. Let's go. Okay, what's he going to take out? The Ugin's Conjurant? Okay. So he has 3 cards in hand. I'm going to want to kill this now. No, I can't because he'll use his Spellkeeper Weird. To stop it. So no attacks. I don't want that to sacrifice to a Gideon's because I know he has 2 of those in his deck. Sure. Let's use this now. Force him to tap out. Get his Spellkeeper Weird used. He's going to have to use the Dovin's Veto. So this is essentially a removal spell on Spellkeeper Weird. Perfect. Oh, he's getting that counter back. Haha! That could be the fatal blunder. If he has 2 copies of Gideon's Triumph, then he gets me, but, you know, can't play around everything. Unfortunate. At least this card's completely dead. So now we have to draw a removal spell. And that's game. I don't think we were able to play around double Gideon's Triumph. We never had a spot where we could do it. But it still feels bad to lose to that. So, unfortunate. Once again, we drew significantly more lands than the opponent with like the same number of cards. Yeah, it was a good game. But unfortunately, that is how it goes sometimes. We had 13, they had 9, so such is how it goes. Oh, he had Rally of Wings? Oh my gosh. Why was he playing Rally of Wings? Interesting. Well, that is a game. Game, set, match. It was a close match, I will say. It was hard fought on both sides, but unfortunately we were not able to emerge victorious. Our deck was quite good though. And we did manage to get to the 3 wins required to get back those 1,500 gems. That is going to do it for this draft video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. I tried my best to be very in-depth during the drafting portion specifically so that you can be prepared for your first draft of the format. Let me know what you thought of that in-depth in the comment section down below. Be sure to hit that thumbs up to support the channel and subscribe to get updates whenever I post new content and have access to the community tab where I will be posting a post-draft analysis if this video gets to 50 thumbs up. So leave a comment if you have any questions or if you just want to say hello. And that is going to do it. War of the Spark was pretty fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next draft video.